Okay. These are our targets. Since I'm late, I'm recording. Thank you. And now let's look at our election results right here. All right, so let's start with this one. Starting off with the Senate and governor. What's it say? Let me turn the lights off. It's probably can read it easier. Okay. Now, so who won? Mike DeWine. You know, when I did look at it at 8 o'clock, but I was in bed by 9. So, and Richard Corday was ahead for not very much, but was ahead for a little bit. So I was kind of wondering what would happen. And then for the Senate, who got it?
Sherrod Brown.
Sherrod Brown, okay. So Sherrod Brown is known as the incumbent. He was the guy who was already in. And so he won. Not by a lot, but he did in fact win. So we've got a Republican governor and a Democratic senator. So that's interesting to considering what were the results for the let's look at the maps first before I get ahead here. Okay, so looking at this, Sherrod Brown won, Democrat, Jim Renisi, and if you see approximately how much difference is between these two. Don't make it hard. It's approximately how much difference. Look at the numbers. About, yeah, not 2,000, but rather 200,000. Yeah, 200,000. Right. Okay, so about 200,000. When you're considering that there was over 4,200,000 votes actually done. I haven't had a chance to look yet, but I'm really interested to see what percentage was this an election that actually drew people or not. But let's look at this. So red is Jim Renisi, who is Republican. Blue is Sherrod Brown. So what does this map tell you? Absolutely, the blue had more population. Yeah, if you're looking. Now the interesting thing is, and I've always thought, you know, you guys may not think this, but I've always thought this map, or the map of Ohio, kind of looks, in a way, except it doesn't have Florida here, kind of looks like the map of the United States, in a kind of a weird sort of a way, right? Okay, except it's missing, you know, kind of the peninsula of Florida, but interestingly enough, it's kind of like the map of Ohio. Is kind of like the map of, if you remember the map from the 2016, this area over here has very Democratic. Now, this area here is not Democratic, like the map of the United States, but just saying. Okay, so the population here is Cleveland, population here is Columbus, population here is Cincinnati. So, a large population. For sure. Okay. Now, okay, I've got to move it according to this. Okay. And then you can go in and look at each individual county. So Provo County, right here. For Provo County, Jim Renisi actually won big time. 10,600 as opposed to 4,000. Okay. But altogether, that's approximately 15,000 people voting. The population of Provo County is a little over 36,000. Since last I heard, it was about 36,000. So, okay. So, all right. So, So, yeah, that's enough for that particular one. Now, in Preble County, let's talk about this. And these are a little harder to see. Oh, it actually shows up almost better on there. Okay. So this was, you guys did, when you did your voting, and I've got your results. Hang on, I gotta pull that out. Let's see how you guys compared. All right. So Mike DeWine won for your class, and yeah, Mike DeWine won for Preble County. Okay, the Attorney General, and somehow I missed getting Attorney General onto your list, onto this list. I don't know why I did that, but we'll come back. I'll let you know about that. So, wow, I'm too far. I can't see that. Those numbers. I gotta get closer. I'll look off this while you're looking off the back. Okay. So, you guys, for auditor, you had, let's see, there were 10 of you that voted for Keith Faber, and he won. Secretary of State, let's see, you guys voted for Frank LaRose, he won. Okay, so far you're batting 1,000. And let's see, Treasurer of the State, you voted for Robert Sprague, and where is it? Am I missing it? Right there. He won. So far, so good. U.S. Senator, you voted for Renisi, and that's what the county voted for. Okay. Now, over here to Representative, you voted for Warren Davidson, and that's who won. And State Senator, you voted for Stephen Huffman, he won. County Commissioner, you voted for Rodney Creech, he won. And Auditor was only one, so she won. State Board of Education, let's see, you guys voted for Matthew, and Matthew lost. Charlotte McGuire won. Justice of Supreme Court, you guys were even on this. And let's see. Hang on, I jumped. Here we go. And Justice Michael Donnelly won that one. So you had there was a tie on that one for your class. Okay, so we are moving on then to in Mary DeGeneres, and this was a Justice Supreme Court. She won. All right, so you've got you're at 99% here. Court of Appeals was only one person, and you got that one right too. And Stephen Bruns was the same as well. All right, so let's look at the levies. Let me get to the levies. Let's sit down. Nice. All right, so the county levy was for the tax, and that was, what was that? Oh man, it doesn't give the number. Bummer. I don't know which number it is. I'll have to look it up. Because I just had numbers here. This doesn't coincide. Does anybody happen to know? Well, we can just say this. Okay, the New Paris was for the levy, and that was the police. So that, and then El Dorado was for the levy. And let's see, oh, the Eaton one, that was one I voted in, and that was for the levy. And the Preble County, oh my gosh, look how close that was, a for and against. And it was a renewal, and against one. Ooh, this is a replacement. Okay, and let me see, anything else? No. Okay. All right. So, you guys pretty much went the way of Preble County. So, and that's pretty good. Okay.
Bless you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's now talk about the House and the Senate. All right. So, this is what I was looking for. I found it and then I lost it. I couldn't find it again. Okay, so, the Democrats have now control of the House of the Representatives. They won 219. They won by one. Representatives then are 193. So you've got gray districts are still undeclared. So at this moment, though, the Democrats, because they have enough, even if they all go to the Republicans, it still won't make any difference because the Democrats have enough. They have 219. So they control now the House of Representatives. Okay, so prior to this, the Republicans had control. Now the Democrats have control. Now, if we scroll down here, we're now looking at the Senate. The Senate, it still remains the Republicans. They needed 51% to win. They still, Florida and Nevada, no, Arizona and Wyoming are still waiting to report. And it looks like Republicans also gained Missouri, North Dakota, and Indiana. So let's see. So this makes, let's see, I'm trying to see the white here. What's the white? It doesn't say. There is no Senate election gray undeclared. Okay. Oh, that's right. The white areas, there was no election, so they stayed the same. All right. Because remember, in the Senate, only certain numbers go every 2 years. A third goes every 2 years. So, what do you think this means? Now the Democrats control the House, so Democrats control one side, and the Senate now, and the Senate the Republicans control. So you've got, kind of an even situation for Congress, right? Okay. Which House tends to have a little bit more, I hate to use the word control, because it's not necessarily control, but there is a little more power in one house than in another. Could you guess which one? Okay. Well, we'll see when we get into a little more. It's actually the Senate has a bit more power, and we'll see what that is. The House of Representatives they control money, okay? They control money, where the Senate controls a lot of the procedural stuff. And we'll see, for example, because this just happened, when the new, darn.
Just had it. I knew you had another thing.
Yeah, it just was right there and it's gone. It just went Supreme Court Justice. The new Supreme Court Justice, Kavanaugh, all right, the president nominates him, okay, and this is separation of powers. President nominated him. The Senate had to approve him, okay, and so this is one of the powers that the Senate has. They have approval. They have a lot of the approval rights, okay. All right, so there's your, briefly, and you were just dying to know this, right?
Oh, yeah.
You got up this morning and went, I want to know, and I know Miss Stinson's going to tell me.
I got up on someone else. Well, you learned about the day, huh?
Come on, don't burst my bubble. Keep me happy, okay? Keep me happy. All right, so.
Side.
Oh, I was going to turn the light on. I don't need to do that. That's wrong. All right, so let's get a few notes done. Okay, I want to show you this, and we'll come back to it. But it's just, I couldn't decide where to place this, and I decided that I wanted to just like introduce, and this is a great way to introduce. If you're looking at this chart here, what you can see are the branches of government in Ohio. Okay? Legislative branch, executive branch, judicial branch. Does that sound familiar? Good. Yeah. Why does it sound familiar? We've gone over it for what? You're right. We've gone over it. But for who? What? Which government? Remember, we're talking Ohio right now, but we've been talking about. Thank you. The U.S. Right. The U.S. Okay. So we literally live under two forms of government. Okay. We live under the United States government, and we also live under the Ohio government. And if we want to even get more technical, we also live under the Preble County government. Okay. So we actually live under three types. But the thing to remember, and this goes back to the targets, is that all of them have to agree, in particular, with the Supreme Constitution, which is the supreme law. Right. So this is what I wanted you to see. We've got legislative branches, the Senate and the House, and all the agencies that work under that. We have the judicial branch, the Supreme Court, judiciary, courts of claims. All of that is the same as the federal government. Executive branch, and then all of the different, which includes the governor and his cabinet and all the people that work to control the our state. But ultimately, who's at the top? Who's at the top? What's it say?
The people of Ohio.
Yes, the people of Ohio. Ohio, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so they're at the top. The power comes from them. Who? What principle is that? Power from the people. Principle of. Well, that would be the voting, but the power from the people comes from.
So it's my tongue.
Begins with P.
Popular.
Thank you. Begins with P. Popular sovereignty. Right. Power from the people. The consent to govern comes from the people. People are at the top of the chart. All right. So let's get into some down and dirty stuff. Ohio State government. Let's start taking some notes here. Okay. So your hands are up. And your notes. Yeah. Is it not there? Okay, yeah. If it's not, then yeah, you definitely. I can't remember everything that I wrote. I'm sorry. I wish I could. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, if it's missing, add it. No. Go to your notes. Go where, oh man, my glasses, so I can't see. Where are my glasses? Where it says Ohio? Right here. Yeah, see, that's what we skipped. We went back. If you want, grab and put it down underneath there, which would make maybe a little more sense. Slow down. You'll see Ohio, there it is. Just grab and then put it down and put it in between local. As you might want to, if you want to help yourself, grab that Ohio that we skipped over and slide it down underneath what we finished last class, and it will flow a little bit easier for you. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I will copy this. Actually, I'm going to cut this. Yeah, I would go down to here too. Start with this. Yeah, right there. All the way up. Okay, cut. Okay, and then we're going to put it right here between the book and the rest. Right there. Yeah, there you go.
You're crazy, bro.
Okay? All right. Okay, so one of the first things you ought to see here is I noted legislative branch, but, and I made it bigger and in a different color. For Ohio, we don't call it the legislative branch. We, in fact, call it the Ohio General Assembly, which are the two houses. It's called the General Assembly. It's kind of a way to keep from getting the confusion that would arise if I started talking about the legislative branch. You're going to think, you should think automatically, the national government. So, if I say Ohio General, or if I say General Assembly, you should know then, okay, you're talking about Ohio. So the General Assembly would relate to the legislative branch of Ohio. Right, so another name. And one of the frustrating and confusing things is there are a lot of terms that mean the same thing in government. Okay, national government is the same thing as federal government. Did you realize that? Did you even think about it? Most people don't. Well, right. Okay, so it's the same thing. National government and federal government. And I often use the terms interchangeably because that's the thing that's an easy way or easy thing to do. All right, now, interestingly enough, the House and the Senate seat requirements are exactly the same. You must be a resident of the district. Okay? You must be living in the district of that where you're being voted. Must have resided in the district for a year immediately preceding the election. So you just can't move in and then the next day apply to run for that district. You need to have been there a year. And you have to be a registered voter. A registered voter. All right, now, how old do you have to be in order to be a registered voter? 18. Which means then, okay? Which means then, how old, what's the age requirement then? Here, 18, yeah. Now, you won't find many 18-year-olds in the Senate or the House of Representatives for Ohio. But it's not unusual to have 21-year-olds, and yeah, usually older, but all right, so the House and Senate are similar in requirements to be there. Now, however, the House is just like the House in the national government. The term is 2 years. So every 2 years we will see that election for that person representing us. Yeah, just keep adding underneath. Right. You're still in the legislature or General Assembly. Now the Senate is different. In the national government, it's 6 years. In Ohio, it's 4 years. So every 4 years, we have the election for the Senate. And then I've included down there how many members belong. The House of Representatives in Ohio have 99 members, and in the Senate, there's only 33. All right, you guys got this?
No.
Okay.
I'm still,
All right. You still what?
I'm still.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I just thought a little bit when I was down, so. That was from it? Okay. You what?
Kelsey don't have the glasses and she don't got contacts in, so she's.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. All right, let's see. There we go. Here's my focus.
Still good. He's like,
All right, you got it? No? All right. Okay, so let's get specifics to then the executive branch. We looked at the legislative branch, which is the Ohio General Assembly, and get that word very well. And now we're going to look at the executive branch, specifically focusing in on the governor. Okay. A very close race. Okay, I think you guys are done with that. All right, so what we're looking at then for governor is specific things that you should be aware of. Ohio has two four-year terms with only 2 consecutive terms permitted. In other words, Governor Kasich, and he still is our governor until when? Do what? Yeah, no, not 2020. Kasich. Okay, we just had the governor's race. Ooh, something you need to know.
Is it like April or something like that?
No, not April, it'd be January. January, until the new governor is signed in. Okay, he remains governor until the new governor is signed in, and to be honest, I don't know when that date is. So, I have to look that up, to be honest. Okay, so he remains governor, so there's no, you know, a period where there's no one in charge. He remains governor until the next governor takes over, and that's true for all offices. Right? He also, interestingly enough, he has a 2 4-year term with only 2 consecutive terms permitted, but he could run for governor again after, because he's already done 2 terms. He has to walk away, but he can come back and run for governor again. And he might. He's not that old, so he could. Okay, appointment power. The government has appointment power for most offices with legislative approval. That's just like the president. Again, we're talking executive branch here. Budget powers has sole control of making the state's budget. Again, that's very similar, although the General Assembly must approve. He can make the budget, but somebody else has to approve it. The legislative budget changing power, legislative has unlimited power to change the governor's budget. Okay? Veto power, same thing as the president. The governor has a line item veto, and it takes 3/5 of the legislature to overturn. This is a big difference, and we'll come back to this when we start talking about the legislature, the national legislature again. Okay, it's warm in here. All right, and that is it for this one, right? All right, so similarities and differences. I couldn't decide whether I wanted to do this information now or later, but it's good. We've got it. We'll come back to it when we talk about the national government. So since we're into Ohio, we might as well spend time on it. All right. You don't need to type this. You just need to be aware that there's more to the executive branch than just the governor. There's the Secretary of State, Auditor, Attorney General, Treasurer, State Board of Education. Does this sound familiar? A little bit. Because it was on here. This was part of who was elected. They're still part of, they have to be elected, but it's still part of the executive branch. So that included auditor, Secretary of State, Treasurer. Those were right here, okay? And there's State Board of Education too on here. So all of those, you or your family, hopefully, went to the polls. I did. And I'm so sorry I forgot I was going to wear my I voted thing today. I forgot to. Yeah, I forgot to. Okay. All right. This includes the governor's cabinet, and the cabinet members are those folks that are selected by the governor to advise him. All right, now we're on the last one, judicial branch. now, what we've got here, and we're focused in Justice of Supreme Court, is there are 7 justices. We could make this a Jolly Rancher question. All right. How many justices are there in the Supreme Court? 7. No. The National Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, not this one. Not Ohio. So for the nation. No. Justices for the National Supreme Court, the one in Washington, D.C. Yeah? No. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Go.
9.
Who?
9.
Did you just look it up?
Yeah.
Good for you. 9. There are 9 justices. So the difference between Ohio has 7. The national, or the one in, and which is the Court of Final Appeals, has 9. So there is 1 Chief Justice and 6 Associate Justices. Now, this goes to what exactly you did with the election. Every 2 years, 2 of the Associate Justice seats are up for election. When you did your ballot, you voted for 2 justices, and let's see here. Oh darn, don't remember now. Michael Donnelly won, and Melanie Stewart won. No, or was it Mary DeGennaro? I'm not sure, but you did. But that was on. Remember, I said every 2 years. So 2 of the justices. Then it says for one of those 3 election cycles. Remember, every 2 years. One is a 6-year cycle or 6-year term. Then there is a 3rd seat, which is the Chief Justice of the Ohio Supreme Court. If for some reason the Chief Justice, like some of them do, they are there for a long time. If some of them, someone dies, then the governor can fill the vacancy, can appoint someone. Officially, the judicial elections are nonpartisan. If you noticed, for much of the election, that it indicated what party they belonged to, until you got to the Justice Supreme Courts, and there was nothing there, because that's part of this nonpartisan. They are not to be focused in on a party, which party, Republican, Democrat, Green, or whatever. They are to be nonpartisan. All right. One more thing. Okay. Judicial branch also includes numerous judicial bodies, including 12 courts of appeals. We'll look at that more later. And then county courts. So we will spend some time with that. You go ahead and write this down, and then we're going to identify. How are we doing on time? Excellent. There we go. Come on. There we go. Yes. our local government. And let's see here. Oh, you know what I forgot to look up? Hang on. I do. Oh no, I don't have to look that up. Come to think of it, I already know. All right. So, who is
Southwest cover.
the court? Who is the judge for common pleas court in Preble County right now? Right now. Who is the judge? See if anybody knows. Ah, this could be another Jolly Rancher moment. Who is? And if you won once, you don't get another Jolly Rancher. So somebody else needs to look it up. Who is the judge for Preble County Common Pleas Court? Who is the judge?
Stephen Byrne.
No, right now. He is the one that will be, and I will note him. He's the one that will be. Stephen. Oh, it's frozen.
I was wrong. Yes. See what?
You're not wrong, but he's not the judge yet. He just got voted in.
David and Russo.
Yeah.
Oh,
Did you have it? You didn't say it out loud? Ah. Woo. Okay, very good. All right, so Judge, and she's blue. Abruzzo. Okay, Judge Abruzzo is presently the judge. He's been the judge for years and years. I mean, I think well over 30 years now. He's been the judge. Okay, so.
He just got beat out.
No, he actually retired. Stephen Bruns was the only one running. Now, interesting fact about Stephen Bruns. He's a graduate of National Trail. Cool, yeah. All right. Now, municipal court judge. Who is that? Now, if you want one, you don't get it again. You don't get another one.
What'd you say?
Who's the municipal court judge in Preble County?
Do right.
Again, you can win twice.
I
So,
know, but is this the dude that got it?
oh, hang on. Now, there was no election for him this year.
I know, but this is the one that came to National
Oh, for our guy?
Yeah.
I mean, for,
Don't
yeah, I think that's good. I haven't seen him in a long time, in a while. No, I didn't graduate from here. No. He's a little younger than I am, I think. Oh, well. No, that's true. That's true. Municipal Court Judge, Preble County. Wow, it shouldn't be that hard, guys. Do you have it? Okay.
Paul Henry.
Is it what?
Paul Henry.
Yes. Stop. Did I get to you? Paul Henry. Yes. So, oops, lost my, there it is. So, Paul Henry. He's the guy you go to. He's the guy you'll go to. Once you turn 18, he's the guy you'll go to if you caught speeding and you have to go to court. He's also the guy you go to if you are, he is the first judge you will see if you've committed a crime or if you have been arrested and believed to have committed a crime. He will decide if, in fact, you deserve to be arrested. Yes. Yeah, put it down. Right. All right. So, Abruzzo is common pleas, right here. Henry is municipal. Now, who is the juvenile court judge? Overmeyer.
What did you,
She looked it up already.
I guess she got.
So, yeah, Jennifer Overmeyer. She is the person that, because you guys are still under 18, she's the person you will go to if you're caught speeding. Anybody seen for a speeding ticket, Judge Overmeyer yet? Well, good. There is a magistrate. I don't know the magistrate's name, but yeah. Okay. How about for probate court? Probate court.
Like for all of
No, just for Preble County.
them.
Just for Preble County. Who is the judge for? Yeah. You're right. Very good. Overmeyer. She, in fact, is the judge for probate court. She is my boss. I work part-time for probate court, and she is my boss. So I am a court investigator for her. If you remember, I talked about that when we talked about the probate court with election. If you are found incompetent, that's part of what I do. All right, finally, court of claims. And in all honesty, I don't remember who was court of claims. I have to look it up too. I think I know, but I'm not sure. Yeah. Oh! There you go. And, oops, got another one there. And, oh, Ron Kelsey. There we go. Sorry, Kelsey. Yep. Yeah, let's see here. Yeah, that's what I thought. This one isn't an obvious one. Is it what? Let me see why you're saying that. Maybe the magistrate. Let me see where we go. Okay. No, he's just talking. This is just a reference. Okay. So, in fact, and it isn't very clear, in all honesty. It isn't very clear, but yeah.
He really did, I promise you.
You did say it? I didn't hear you. Okay. All right. Now, one thing to note here is that the Court of Common Pleas is kind of, for lack of a better term, the boss in Preble County. All the other courts are under this one. So being this judge, they cover a lot of territory. This judge is kind of the boss of the rest of them. He said if there's a question, they go to him. Okay? So, and that's oversimplifying by a lot, but it's still true to a certain degree. Then, of course, in 2019, Stephen Bruns will then take over. Okay? But he doesn't until 2019. All right. We got it? Okay. Here's what I would like for you to do to finish up. Oh, we're not going to have enough time. I have a quiz that I want you guys to do. And of course, it's one where, for 100%, but you got to take it first, and then we'll go ahead and grade it, and I'll turn it back in. But, you know what? I'll have you do that first thing when you come Friday. rather than try to do it now. All right? Okay. All right. So we are done for today. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Showing up today. Look at that. I don't know why, because I haven't. Well, that's the October 17th election. That's the reason. They did go into your report. Get it turned in and I'll read it. It'll change, okay? Yeah. Great.
You know,
I would bet that this one is the one that's killing it, because you didn't turn it in. You didn't turn it in. It is the October 16th, December 16th, I don't remember the dates on it right now. Hang on, I will look. 17 and 18, yeah. That work hasn't been turned in. I'm not gonna go over it again, you need to look at it, because we did that like a while ago.